I'm Amira McCancy, the author of the book Literary Libations, What to Drink with What You Read, and I'm back this week with another episode of the Literary Libations video series. So this week I wanted to talk about a book that did not get included in my book, Literary Libations, and the reason for that is because it's a memoir, and I was only trying to include works of fiction. But I was really bummed that I couldn't include this book because it's super popular. It's actually got turned into a movie featuring Reese Witherspoon, and I read it about 2 years ago, and it was just really incredible and moved me in ways that I was not expecting to be moved by this book. And that book, of course, is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I know a lot of people out there have been very touched and influenced by this book, so I'm super stoked to introduce what I have as the drink pairing for it. So if you've read Wild, or if you've even really heard about it, you probably know that Wild is all about a young woman, that is Cheryl herself, hiking the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, in order to essentially find herself in the wake of her mother's death. Cheryl, at the beginning of the book, is recovering from a heroin addiction. She is breaking up with her boyfriend of several years, and she's really just in emotional recovery from this really traumatic event that occurred when she was in her early 20s, which is her mother dying. So the book is all about healing, and it's about the journey, not the destination, and the writing is just absolutely incredible. Now, it's also near and dear to my heart because a lot of the book takes place in my adopted state of Oregon. For those of you who know me, you know how much I love Oregon, and I live in Ashland now, which is one of the places where there's a chapter that takes place in Wild, where Cheryl gets to have a little bit of sexy time with somebody that she meets in Ashland, and it's a chapter that I love because I live here now. So because the book is all about hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, and it's hot and it's tiring and it's exhausting, naturally the pairing has to be something really light and refreshing and like kind of empowering. So of course that is beer. Beer has just enough of a spritz and buzz to get you a little bit happy, but it also gives you calories, which are great when you're hiking. So it's really just the perfect pairing for Wild and for hiking the PCT. If you think about it, at the end of a long day of hiking or camping, what are you going to reach for? You're definitely going to reach for a cold, refreshing beer. So in that spirit, I actually have two different beers that are going to work for this pairing. The first one is by a brewery that's located in Corvallis, Oregon, which is also near and dear to my heart. I've spent a lot of time in Corvallis and I love it up there. So the brewery is called Mazama Brewing. And this beer is a wit beer, which is a German beer, and typically it's unfiltered, so it's a little bit cloudier. I like those beers. I think they tend to have a little bit more flavor, kind of like a roundness and texture to them. And this beer is actually named after Crater Lake. It's called Wizard Island, and Mazama Brewing is a reference to Crater Lake as well. The mountain, Crater Lake, used to be Mount Mazama before it blew up 7,700 years ago. And there's a great scene in Wild where Cheryl Strayed talks about her trip to Mount Mazama and to Crater Lake, where she goes and she looks into the lake, and it's really awesome. So I wanted to read that scene to you briefly and share it with you so that the pairing for this book makes a little bit more sense. I sat in it for the rest of the afternoon, staring at the lake. I still had 334 miles to hike before I reached the Bridge of the Gods, but something made me feel as if I'd arrived. Like that blue water was telling me something I'd walked all this way to know. This was once Mazama, I kept reminding myself. This was once a mountain that stood nearly 12,000 feet tall and then had its heart removed. This was once a wasteland of lava and pumice and ash. This was once an empty bowl that took hundreds of years to fill. But hard as I tried, I couldn't see them in my mind's eye. Not the mountain or the wasteland or the empty bowl. They were simply not there anymore. There was only the stillness and silence of that water, what a mountain and a wasteland and an empty bowl turned into after the healing began. So, as you can see, I think that pairing is really appropriate. The brewery is called Mazama Brewing Company, and the name of the beer, Wizard Island, is a reference to one of the islands inside the cone of the volcano, which is exactly what Cheryl was staring at all afternoon while she was contemplating recovery. So the second option for the pairing for this book is a beer by a brewery that is getting a lot of notoriety in Oregon and throughout the Pacific Coast. The brewery is called Crux, and they're located in Bend, Oregon. And I don't think Cheryl goes to Bend at any point in her book, which is why this is kind of like the secondary pairing. It's a backup because it's a little bit more widely available than the Mazama Brewing Company. So if you can't find Mazama, you'll probably be able to find Crux, especially if you're located out here on the Pacific Coast. So this beer is called the PCT Porter. So PCT, obviously a reference to the Pacific Crest Trail, which is another reason why it's a great pairing. But the difference is that this is a porter beer, so it's going to be a lot darker. It has a lot more malt and a lot more kind of like rich, round flavor. I think of this as more of like a winter beer, which is another reason why it's kind of a secondary pairing, because when you get off the trail and you're dirty and you're hot and you're sweaty, what are you going to want to drink? You're probably not going to want to drink something like wintry unless you're really hungry. So that's why I think a wit might be slightly more appropriate. But if you can't find a Mazama Brewing Company beer, then I think this PCT Porter from Crux Brewing Company is a really great alternative. So there you have it, the pairing for Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I hope you guys get a chance to check out these beers and enjoy them. They are both awesome beers. I can't wait to try them. And actually, who am I kidding? I have definitely had both of these many times. And I hope that you enjoy them as much as I do, and I hope you enjoy the book as much as I do. Also, don't forget, the whole reason why I'm doing these videos is because I have a book coming out. It is called Literary Libations, What to Drink with What You Read. I'm really excited about it. The release date is on September 4th. If you like, you can pre-order the book from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or IndieBound, which allows you to order from local bookstores. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter if you just want to get updates about the book, but you don't actually want to buy it yet. So lots of options. I hope that you will stay connected with me, and looking forward to the next episode. Thanks so much, guys.